you have an idea for a web app or a mobile app. Now what? I've had this question asked to me so many times I can't keep track. And it's you're not sure what to do. After you have the idea, you're not sure where to go or who to talk to. So here's what most people will do. And this is including me, because I've done all of these things 52 million times. So when I'm laughing about these things, just know that I've done every single one of these. Number one is they think, well, I have this idea, so I need to get it built. So I'm going to go talk to a developer because this thing needs to be built right now before somebody else does. So this is urgency to get it built. You should have the idea, this urgency to get it built right away. Number two is, and I'm a designer, so this is one I fall into all the time, is you'll go out and design a logo, or you'll get a logo designed or a website, or the worst one, which is my guilty thing, which is going and buying a domain name. So immediately you're going out, you're getting the logo, you're getting the website, you're getting a domain. You don't even have the app yet. So number three, and this is the funniest one, I've done this one so many times, is you have this idea and you're telling all your friends and family that you're going to be a billionaire. You're basically saying, I'm going to take all you guys on vacation because this idea is so good that I'm going to be a billionaire with a B because of this app idea. Number four, a lot of people, and I see this online all the time, they won't even go hire a developer. They won't do a logo or a website. They won't tell any friends or family because they're worried that this idea is going to be stolen. My dad is like an inventor. Like, he reminds me of the guy on The Beautiful Mind, where like he just invents things all the time and then like draws all these pictures, but he's worried about getting it stolen. And it's not bad to think that your idea could be stolen, but I think a lot of people get over-focused on the fact that someone's going to steal their idea, because at the end of the day, ideas really aren't worth anything. It's really the execution of that idea that actually matters. So number five is they go and they may even take a bigger step and go start talking to web agencies, development agencies, software agencies, and this is where they get sticker shock, because the agencies are like, yeah, sure, we can build it for $75,000. So now they have sticker shock, and they're like, well, that's not going to work. And number six is they go and they ask family or friends. So they end up hiring their aunts, cousins, brother's sister's son who has a computer science degree. And all that leads to, especially if they start building it, all it leads to eventually is awkward Thanksgiving dinner conversations about why little Johnny didn't finish building your app. And you're not paying little Johnny, so it ends up just being awkward altogether. And at the end of this process, they end up just giving up. They end up giving up because they're like, well, I tried to hire a developer. That didn't work. I tried to get a technical co-founder. I couldn't find anybody who wanted to join my band. Went out and designed a logo and a website. They told their family they were going to be billionaires. They worried about getting it stolen. They talked to agencies that gave them these giant quotes. They tried to hire their cousin's brother's son, whatever, and then they eventually give up. And then what will happen is a year down the line, somebody actually created that exact same idea. So they're like, I had that idea forever. I had that idea for Uber a long time ago. Well, at that point, it doesn't really matter. So what to do instead? So here's some things that when you get these ideas, because everybody gets these ideas, what to do instead is giving you some guidelines, some things to think through. And these are things that every single time someone comes up to me with these questions, these are the things I tell them to do. Now, here's the caveat. When I tell people to do these things, a lot of them don't do it because they really aren't committed to actually building that idea. So if you are committed to building that idea, then here are the things. And the people I know who are going to succeed in this are the people that come back to me and say, hey, Jack, I actually did a lot of what you're telling me to do. So there's two questions to ask. Who and problem. So who is it that this app, this piece of software is for? Who is the specific market? When I say specific market, I mean specific market. Not saying it's for everyone. Because when you say it's for everyone, it's going to be very hard to market to those people because you're trying to advertise this app on Facebook and you're targeting 2 billion people. You're going to spend a lot of money trying to find out who your customers are. But instead, if you know specifically that you're marketing to working moms, you're marketing to fishermen, you're marketing to people who are into like racing or NASCAR, any of these things, the specific market is key, because then you can really understand who they are, what their language is, what their culture is like, what their values are like, so that when you do run this advertising, it's going to be super effective. When you're telling them about the app, they're going to think, oh, wow, they know exactly who I am. They know exactly what I want. They really get me. And that's the key, that if your app makes your market go, this app gets me, that's the sweet spot. That's where you want to be. And number two, what is the problem that you're solving? If it's not a painful enough problem, it's going to be really hard to get whoever in this market is to pay you to do that. And if you're not solving a problem and it's an entertainment app, this probably, the rest of this video probably is not for you. Entertainment and anything that doesn't solve a specific problem is although it can be rewarding, there's a difference between Angry Birds and Uber. Angry Birds is out there just trying to, help people have fun or whatever, but the audience is very fickle, so they can jump from one app to the next very easily. Unlike an Uber or Lyft that's solving a very specific, very painful problem, that's where you get that customer loyalty, because you're solving a really tough problem. So answering these two questions, who is it that I'm targeting, and what is the problem that you are solving? Now, here's the one thing: most people's ideas are solutions looking for problems. So they come to me with, hey, I have a solution. And I say, what's the problem? And they kind of know the problem, but they're really more focused on the product rather than the problem that it's solving, when it should be a problem looking for a solution. So I tell people to go out, instead of being addicted to finding ideas, be addicted to finding problems. And if you can find problems looking for solutions, people who have problems that are trying to solve it, that have tried to solve it in the past and can't solve it and are frustrated, and you come in like Superman and save the day, that's where you want to be. So if you are so, what's the word? So committed to that idea that you can't change this, even if you find a different problem here, you're going to have a really hard time. So be open to, yes, you're going to come with an idea, but as you talk to this market and understand what this market was, you may find that the idea could take a little different direction, because you found a really big problem that people are like, yes, I will pay you whatever to solve that problem. Now, how do you know if your app idea or your idea is solving a problem? Here's what you want to look for: confessions. Now, you may say, Jack, what the heck are you talking about? Why are you talking about confessions? All over the internet right now, there are people commenting, posting, twittering, reviewing, asking, and confessing about their problems around a specific topic. And what's great about these sites, about the Reddits, about the Quoras, about the Facebooks, the YouTubes, is that no one's trying to sell them, or they're not in a selling situation. So they're going to be completely honest inside, and that's what you're looking for: honesty. A lot of people will tell you, if you've ever looked into startup training or building an app, they'll say, go out and have conversations with your market. Well, the problem is, when you go have conversations with this market, they're trying to not offend you. If they're a decent person, they don't really want to hurt you. They don't want to offend you. They want to make you feel good. So when you talk to them about your idea, they're not going to be like, now some people may say that's a stupid idea, but most people are going to be like, yeah, man, that sounds great, man. That's cool. Yeah, that's great. And they'll and I call them yep slapping you. They'll just be like, yep, 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 yep. And you'll be like, do you want to buy it? Nope. So they're just slapping you with all these yeps. And then finally, when you get to like, would you actually buy it? Then they say no. So the great thing about these confessions is through reviews, through comments on YouTube, through questions on Quora, is it's people with honest questions. They're not, the conversation is not colored by trying to make anybody feel good. They're just there, and especially if it's anonymous. Because if it's anonymous, there's like no filter there. They can be completely 100% honest, and that's what you're looking for. So what you want to do is find out where your market hangs out. Where are they online, and what are they talking about, and where can you find unfiltered conversations? And what you want to do is make a giant list of these things. So the first things you want to do is look for questions that they're asking. So a lot of people say in sales, like, the questions are the answers. The questions are the answers here, because the types of questions they're asking and the pain inside of those questions. Like, if you were early developing Uber, and I lived in Hoboken for 10 years, this is before Uber, and you would line up at the bottom of Hoboken to get to the top of Hoboken. You'd have to get into a cab, and you'd have to sit there while the cab drivers pulled up to you, and they'd say, "Where are you going?" I'd be like, 14th and Jefferson. They'd be like, "Nope," and that'd be it. Then they wouldn't even let you in their cab. Then you have to get the next person. You'd say, "Where are you going?" 14th and Jefferson. Nope. And so there was all these things. So what if you went on to a local Hoboken Facebook group and you were seeing these questions of like, "Hey, is there any other way I can get to the top of Hoboken without going through this ridiculous cab process where everybody denies me?" You see how that question has a lot of pain. There's a lot of context inside that question. And that's where you can find that gold. That's where you can find those honest, unfiltered pains and problems that your app is trying to solve. So imagine when Uber was first advertising in Hoboken when they first came out, they could be like, "Hey, you don't have to worry about feeling like it's American Idol trying to get a stupid cab in Hoboken. You can just pull up your phone and you get a cab with nobody asking you where you're going, and it's probably going to be cheaper, and they don't throw a whole bunch of people inside the cab at the same time." So that's where you can find those questions. Now, the next thing you want to find are stories, or you could call them narratives, but they're stories. And these are stories where you'll find these a lot of times on reviews that, "Hey, I tried this and I tried that and this didn't work, but then when I found this really worked." Or you could find them in comments on blog posts where they say, "Hey, great post. I tried to go through and do the same thing, and here's what happened." So you're looking for these stories to tell you, and this is where you get to see, most of the time, people up here maybe not trying to actively solve it, but with the stories, they're telling you of the pain and the problem they've gone through to try to solve that particular problem. So in the case of Uber, you may see stories of people who are like, "Oh man, and I just told you literally a story about that." So I told you about the pain and the process, and anybody who's ever lived in Hoboken would have that same story. So and inside of that story are all kind of cues, all kind of things that you can use in your marketing, all kinds of things that you can use in the product to inform the product just from those stories. So you're going to write them down into one big list. You're going to find all the questions, all the stories, and you're going to find out like if they're trying to solve it, or they found a solution in a competitor, are they happy with that solution? That's what you're going to find. This is how I found this topic for this video. So I went to sites like Quora. I don't even know how to spell Quora. Co-Founders Lab, which is a site basically for people looking to start startups and looking for technical co-founders or business co-founders or trying to start startups. And Facebook. So I went to one, which was this Facebook page that had a whole bunch of stories of startup founders and all the pains that they went through, and they maybe had no startup experience or no technical experience, and what they went through. And these were really painful stories. Some of them had lost thousands of dollars. Some got divorced. Some ended up losing their house. Like all of these things that, for me, trying to develop content to help these people, there's a whole lot of lessons that I've learned that hopefully if someone was reading that if they went through a content or some piece of content, or maybe even an app that I created, that it could help them avoid those situations. So I found a whole bunch of this stuff. And what I found, the patterns that I found, and this is what's cool about this process. It's not just about, you can find not just app ideas, but you can find content ideas to then market your app or your business or whatever. And I found I have an idea. That kept coming up over and over and over. How do I protect my idea? I have an idea. I don't know what to do next. Should I hire a developer? Like, all of this content is coming from me finding patterns, shapes and patterns inside of those questions, inside of those stories. And most people were going through these websites and asking the same questions. They were saying, I want to build an app by going to the right developers. Should I raise money? It wasn't working for them. And I knew, and this is how I created a whole consulting business, a whole consulting solution around this, that if I could show them a step-by-step process, they'd be able to launch their idea without taking a huge risk, without wasting their time and doing this process that I'm showing you right now. That's how I built an entire consulting business around solving that particular problem. So it doesn't have to, when you find these problems, maybe it doesn't even need to be an app. Maybe it could be a consulting business. Maybe it could be a done-for-you agency. Maybe it could be anything. But that's what's cool about going on these problem safaris and finding it. And you're like a reporter that's doing a story on these things, and you can find all kind of amazing things and all kind of business opportunities from those. So if your market is working moms, then who need childcare, then go into the Facebook groups. My wife Marissa was in a lot of new mom Hoboken new mom groups in Facebook, and there was so many. There were 10, 20 posts a day of moms talking about their problems, what they were dealing with as far as kids, and all kinds of things, all kinds of ideas that were in there, all kinds of problems that you could solve. If your market is foodies, so if your market is people who are super into food, go on Yelp and read the reviews or YouTube comments. I know YouTube comments can be kind of crazy, but there is some gold if you look through it. If you look through some YouTube comments, also Vimeo comments tend to be a little bit less crazy than YouTube. And you can also go to blogs, food blogs, recipe blogs, and read the reviews on these recipe websites. So, and just imagine you're a reporter doing a story on your market. How can you paint the picture of their plight, their struggle, their pain, their frustration? Then you're the superhero who swoops in and saves the day. Now, the next thing is, after you find these confessions, the next thing you want to do is build a friction. I'm really good at this. Frictionless. I have amazing handwriting. Frictionless solution. Now, what is a frictionless solution? What is friction? Well, in terms of what we're talking about now, if you imagine two circles here, and you have their current reality, your market's current reality, and then you have the desired reality. Friction is what gets in between this and this. When they're trying to move from their current reality to their desired reality, this is where friction comes in. You're trying to close the gap. You're trying to take it from here to take it to something way smaller, to reduce that amount of friction. The smaller the space in between here, the better the solution, because it leads to less frustration, less time for them to actually solve their problem. So let's say you wanted to start a monthly stylist subscription app for working moms. So moms who want to look good, who want to feel good and feel confident, and you're going to send them monthly clothes depending on their style preferences. So the first thing you want to do, and this is what, after I take someone down the process of figuring out who the market is, finding out all the confessions, finding out the pains, problems, frustrations, all of these things, I say, okay, what are the core actions that need to take place to solve that problem? So in the stylist app, there's a couple core things that need to take place. Number one, they need to sign up, probably with an email or a phone or something like that. Number two, they need to fill out a form. And this form would have preferences, age, height, weight, just to get some data on what they're looking for. Number 3, they would fill out their address and payment info, credit card or whatever. Number 4, now that's the things that they would need to actually do. Then your job is to send the box of clothes every month. And number 5, then follow up to see how they liked it so that you can adjust the clothes the next time. And then number 6, they send back or return the clothes that they don't like. And there's a lot of logistics obviously in this, but you can see I'm just trying to break it down to what are the core functions within there. And that's how you say, okay, what are the steps that are the least friction to develop this frictionless solution? I need to just break it down to its core, and just keep breaking it down and take steps out. You're like, well, do they really need to do that? Probably not. Then just take it out. Now, how could you solve this thing right away before you even build an app? Now, just like we did earlier in this video with learning deeply about the problem, your job now is to learn deeply about the solution. So instead of spending $100,000 building this custom app right now, you could use something like Facebook Messenger, right? So everybody has it. It's on their phone. No need to. So Facebook Messenger, this is an app that's already built that people can already download. There's no need to download anything. There's no friction. You could video chat. You could ask them questions. You could take payment all within inside Facebook Messenger. There's all kind of add-on apps that they can pay you and do all kinds of fill out forms and stuff right inside of Facebook Messenger. Of course, because I know what people are saying right now. And this is the objection I always get. Well, Jack, that won't work when I have thousands of customers. But your job right now is not to serve 1,000 customers. It's to serve 1 or 2 or even 10 and to understand how to solve it. So you're looking for how to solve it, and you're diving deeply into the solution. What works, what doesn't work, do they like the clothes, is the shipping too long? All of these things you can find out without actually building the app. Now, a lot of people would just say, I don't want to do that because I want to go build the app. Well, the problem is you don't understand enough about the solution, how it's going to work. So you're taking a big gamble. Now, you could do it and maybe you get lucky. Maybe you go spend $50,000 to build a custom app and you get lucky and it works, and that's great. For the people who don't want to take the big risk, and my job here is to teach you how to reduce the risk that you're going to lose money by figuring out how to dive into the problem and then how to dive into the solution without spending a whole bunch of money. Now, let's say another example is you wanted to create a live workout app. Now, what are the core actions that need to take place? Number 1, sign up. They need to get your email, their name, or whatever. Number 2, view schedule. So you need to see, so they need to sign up and then they see when do these live workouts take place. You may want to, on the sign up, there may be one other core action of like what their goals are. Maybe you have a bunch of different classes and then you can show them the schedule based on their preferences. That's also an option. And then do the workout. It seems simple, but really that's what it is. If you wanted to do live workouts, if you're a fitness professional, you're like, you know what, I want to do live workouts once a week or twice a week or 3 times a week or whatever. All I need is people to sign up and be able to show them the schedule. And then I need to be able to actually do the workout. Now, how could you solve that right away before you build an app and spend all that money? IG Live, Instagram Live, or Periscope. And so what you'd want to do here is make a private account on Instagram that you only allow paying members to see. Now, actually, one of those core actions I forgot is actually taking payment. So if you set up a little payment form, maybe you use Stripe, or maybe there's a bunch of different little payment platforms out there you can take credit cards. And then you only invite the people to that private account that are paying members. And then on that Instagram account, you post the schedule each day as a picture, and then go live on Instagram with your workout, and then tell them to in the comments how they like to work out, how they like the workout, what worked, what didn't work, was it too fast, was it too hard? And then you're starting to get all of that feedback. And that's the gold. The gold before you did this process is the problem. That's where the people don't know you, they're not interacting with you, but you're observing. You're kind of a stalker in a way, and you're figuring out what their pains and problems and frustrations. But in this solution stuff, this is where the feedback and developing these core actions optimized to get feedback. Notice how in both of those app examples, there were ways that people could give you feedback on what was working and what was not working. So in your core actions, make sure you're developing that feedback loop. Make sure they have some ability to tell you what's working and what's not working. So once you've tested your solution a few dozen times and people are happy, then it's time to build the app, which I won't get into it in this video, but I will in future ones. Now, most people I tell this to say, yeah, okay, Jack, that sounds great, but I just want to build the app. I want to look cool in front of my friends. I told everybody I was going to be a billionaire, and now I'm using Facebook Messenger, and now I don't look like I know what I'm doing. The problem is that approach is that, let's say you decide to go to a developer, and you tell them exactly what you want them to build out of your idea, just straight out of your brain. They are going to build exactly what you told them to build. And you may say, Jack, what is the problem with that? They're building exactly what I told them to build. Well, the issue is you've never solved this problem before. So how can you build a solution to a problem that you haven't solved? The only time I tell people to build the app is when they've solved the problem so many times they could do it in their sleep. They're looking for a way to scale and automate that solution. So at the end of the day, nobody actually wants to use an app. Nobody actually wants to go and download an app from the App Store and open up their phone. All they want is a solution to their problem. At the end of the day, nobody wants to build an app. Think about it. Why do you want to build this app? They just want to be rewarded, whether it's financially or emotionally or whatever it is. They just want to be rewarded to solve a problem for people. Maybe they love solving problems for people. Maybe they want to make a lot of money, but an app is just the vehicle to get there. So to conclude, I want to wrap this up. There's only two things you must answer to increase the chances your idea will succeed. Do I understand the market and the problem clearly by looking for confessions? And how do I close the friction gap between their current reality and the desired reality with some sort of solution that may not be an app? And so the idea is, first, learn about the problem, dive deep into the problem, and then second, dive deep into the solution. Now, I'm going to do the same thing I told you guys to do. Feedback loop. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below and I will answer them. This is part of saying, okay, Jack, part of this video made sense. Part of this stuff, I had no idea what you were talking about. And so then I can deliver better, more specific content so that you guys do get this and that you will end up being able to build a successful app. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. All right.